Hey guys, so you often see people encouraging cheat days and cheat meals when you are dieting. And if you look around YouTube, you often see loads of videos on this. So cheat meals, cheat days, how to do it, look at me eating all this food. And in my opinion, not only does this give long-term poor results, but it also, more importantly, installs binge eating behaviors which link into those long-term poor results. So how should you eat to enjoy life, enjoy food, be able to go out, but still get really good results that last? If you stick around to the end, you will discover just that. So in this video, I'm going to be going over what cheat meals are, why people think you need them, what problems that causes, and what you should be doing instead. And if you check out the description below, I've included a link to my free guide on how you should structure your meals so you can enjoy food every day of the week, and it's not what you expect either, so check that out below. So let's get into the video. So what is a cheat meal or cheat day? So we have this kind of diet culture at the moment where you have to be really, really good on your diet that is not actually sustainable, and you think, I want to include the foods that I do enjoy. So you're kind of allowing yourself a meal or a day where you do kind of go off plan. And so it's a very black and white mindset of being really good and restrictive and then having a day or a meal where you do kind of just eat what you want. And some of it comes from not knowing how to deal with food in certain situations. So going out on the weekends with friends, being able to choose the right things or enjoy food in a social situation, or even deal with peer pressure. So when your friends are thrusting things in your face or like saying, just have a little bit of this, or like you've been really good this week, just have some, you don't know how to live in line with your values and basically say no. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It's just something you haven't learned yet, how to deal with this social pressure and how to choose things and still enjoy yourself while going out. And some people believe that when you're dieting, having a day where you eat more resets your metabolism. However, this turns out not to be true. So I found a little article here, I'll read it out to you. So proponents of the cheat meal strategy for weight loss further theorize that intermittent periods of high calorie foods will trick the hormone cycle into producing more leptin temporarily and prevent the desire for rebound overeating. Unfortunately, there is little rigorous scientific research that supports this theory, so it's not true. So the problems with cheat meals, cheat days. So the first problem is just around losing weight. So to lose a pound of body fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit of 500 calories per day. So that's consuming 500 calories less per day than your body needs. So over a week, 500 times 7 is 3,500. So a pound of body fat contains 3,500 calories. So if you are cutting out 3,500 calories from your diet per week, you will lose a pound of body fat, right? So with most people's diets, they are in this, or they're trying to achieve this deficit of 500 per day. So let's say they're doing it. So for the 6 days of the week, they're doing this, but on the 7th, they will have some kind of cheat meal or cheat day. Now, the problem with this is if you do not sort of be careful and regulate it a little bit, then you can easily completely negate this body fat loss that you've kind of built up over the week, this 3,500 calories. So let's just use an example. Let's say to lose weight, someone needs to be eating 1,500 calories per day. This is just an example. And they saved up 3,500 calories from their sort of reduced eating. Now, let's say they have a pizza and 3 glasses of wine. So a pizza can easily be 1,000 calories. Each glass of wine, large glass of wine, is about 250 calories. So that's 1,750 calories. So if we take that 3,500 that we have saved up and we take away 1,750, we've like halved that. And so on that day, the person eats normally, so they eats their sort of 1,500 calories plus a cheat meal of a pizza, 1,000 calories plus a few glasses of wine. They've very quickly reduced their 1 pound of body fat loss, 3,500, to around a half, to like half a pound. And that's just one quick example of having one meal. So you can very, very easily see how this can get out of hand and you can end up not losing any weight by having a cheat meal. So if that person then had a dessert as well, something else, or another meal in the day which added up, you can easily not lose any weight by doing this. So the excessive restriction on the other days and the need to then sort of have something you enjoy off plan on one of the weekend days, or both of them sometimes, it can very quickly make it not worth the restriction during the week. So you kind of like hate what you're doing to live for the weekend, and it creates this cycle of, am I actually getting results? So actually, no, let's just stop doing this. So you end up coming off your diet and then kind of after a little while feeling bad about yourself again. So start again. And it creates this yo-yo cycle of doing it and then not doing it. Let me know in the comments if you've experienced this before. I'll be very interested in knowing. And the next thing is going to be around disordered eating. So for me, one of the biggest things with a cheat meal, cheat day, is creating disordered and binge eating. So the first thing is So being strict on the diet creates the perfectionism mindset and the need for control and the all or nothing mindset. And so like the more precise and the more strict you are, elevates the fear of losing control. And this basically like creates a lot of internal pressure, and it causes you to not actually focus on what you want. And so I've got an analogy for this. So we call it the plank analogy. So let's say, for example, I place a plank of wood on the floor. It's about 2 meters long and about 2 feet wide. And I say to you, like, I bet you can't walk along there without falling off. Get to the other side, right? And you'll be like, what? Yeah, I can. So I'll be like, yeah, cool. I bet you £100 that you can't do it. And you'd be like, oh, cool, yeah. And so what you do, you step onto the plank, you walk along it, you look towards the other side, and you just do it. And you're like, yeah, done it. £100, please. So I give you £100, so yes, fine. Now, if I raise that plank and put it between two really tall buildings, so same plank, same situation, no wind or anything, but I've raised a plank sort of, let's say it's 200 meters in the air. Now, if I give you that same bet, you'd be like, oh, things are different. Like, you've raised the stakes. You'd be like, what if I fall off? Well, that's really dangerous. Like, what if I wobble? What if I die? This is like really dangerous now. And I don't know if I can do it. What if this? Like, what if that? What if I fall? What if I don't survive? Like, all these what ifs in your head. And the problem with this is, instead of now sort of looking forward and sort of walking along the plank, you're thinking about all the things that can go wrong. You've sort of analysed the situation, you're analysing it too much, and it creates this doubt in your mind. So you don't go and do it, you're looking at what's going to go wrong. And this is what happens when you create perfection in your diet, restriction. You start to look at all the what ifs, and it might not be conscious, but it creates this internal pressure in your mind, which at some point will have to be released. And how does that happen? Usually with some kind of overeating and binging. So when you raise the stakes, literally, the repercussions become greater to you. So the doubts and the fears in your mind become bigger as well. And sometimes you don't even want to step onto that plank. You're like, I'm not even going to try. So this kind of thing with the diet, it causes a lot of problems, and people don't realize the issues it causes. This pressure of what if and the fear over the precision, because you've made it so precise and so strict, like has these rebound things of when does this, like, how is this fear and this internal pressure going to be relaxed? It's just like with the job when you're stressed. You need a day where you do nothing and you don't think. The same thing with food. I cannot be so strict. I just need to eat everything, or at least have my cheat meal where I don't have to like follow this plan that I've been given, and I just need to relax. So being overly restrictive on your diet and following this very precise plan creates this possibility of the all or nothing mindset, where you are following it, being really good, but then you can't necessarily do it all the time. So have these days where you have the cheat meal, the cheat day. And that is the big problem around being too precise and following something that is too strict. And you also end up creating disordered eating from these exceptions, this cheat meal, this cheat day. So if you teach yourself that you're allowed to have a day where you kind of go off plan so much and don't need to think about anything, then what happens when you're not being so strict on your diet? So what happens maybe when you can't be strict? Let's say you're on holiday. or out with friends, or let's say when you've even reached your goal. You've taught yourself to have these exceptions. And when the motivation goes because you're not following a diet, because you've reached your goal, or because you can't follow it, these exceptions tend to creep in more because you kind of taught yourself how to eat in this way and you've allowed them. So what commonly happens is someone maybe reaches their goal, and because they don't have the motivation to be very strict anymore, they're like, I think I'll have a cheat meal today as well. I think I'll have one tomorrow. Oh, I'm going out with friends. Yeah, I'll have one then. And it kind of starts to escalate. You start to very, very quickly overeat calories, and that's when you start putting on weight again. Think about like the long-term sustainability of what you are following. If this overly restrictive diet is not enough to give you enjoyment, it's not sustainable in the long term. It's not going to give you long-term results unless you have these cheat meals and cheat days, which, as I explained before, install a lot of really bad behaviors. And also, you're allowed to eat for emotional reasons, and you shouldn't be labeling it good and bad, because like, if you are having something you enjoy and you're labeling it as bad, you're never going to enjoy it as much as you would otherwise. Like, don't label it as good as bad. There is no good and bad food. It's what is supporting your goal, and are you living in line with your values? Have you chosen to eat this? And is it working towards your goal? If it's not, then maybe it's not. If it is, then that's great. You're allowed to have these foods and not feel bad about eating them, not call them something negative. You shouldn't have to suffer 6 days to enjoy the 7th. And you shouldn't have to kind of like have this day or meal where you ignore hunger cues and just like stuff yourself, which can happen. I'm not saying it happens in all cases with cheat meals and cheat days, but like from watching videos on YouTube, people tend to go all out, and it's teaching the wrong thing. Like, teaching to eat when you're not hungry can have those repercussions on the other days where when you are sort of not hungry, you're kind of thinking about food, and it makes a dieting process so much more difficult because, again, it's black and white. You're doing something on one day which is having an effect on the other days. You want to be very congruent in the way you think. You want to be able to like be in tune with hunger signals when you're not hungry, not have like thoughts about eating. And when you are hungry, be able to eat in a certain way to sustain your body, to feel full and enjoy the food at the same time. And I kind of touched on this before, but having a cheat meal or cheat day when going out with friends is kind of avoiding learning the skills you need to be able to control yourself, be able to enjoy yourself, be able to know how and what to eat when you're out with friends. Like, food is just an excuse to get people together, and you don't have to eat the most calorific thing on the menu. You don't have to eat the most craziest and extreme thing. Like, enjoying the company and enjoying food can still be done while like being a bit flexible, but also still working towards your goal in a way where you don't have like a blowout and just kind of, again, have this black and white mindset of, I'm not on the diet today, so I can just eat whatever I want or whatever meal. And again, differentiating between cheat days and cheat meals, a bit different, but there's different situations that happen. And one thing I find a lot with my clients, the reason they used to have these strict days and then sort of cheat meals is because they don't trust their own decisions. So what I mean by that is when they kind of like have something nice, they don't trust their ability to just have one or a bit. They feel they'll lose control. So creating this day where they can have a cheat meal and labeling it, it kind of boxes that in and it creates a rule to follow, which is easier for them. So it's just a fear of losing control, basically, and not being able to include things they enjoy on a regular basis, just having to box them all in on one place on one day. So if they do lose control, they can sort of label it as, oh yeah, that was my cheat meal or cheat day. So like, this is a huge skill to learn, being able to trust your decisions and being able to like be very aware of how your brain is trying to negotiate with you. And when you have just one of something and it might say, yeah, have another one, being able to actually learn how to get around that is a very, very important skill. And in a way as well, like, it's kind of telling yourself it's okay beforehand. So when you do overeat, if you do overeat, then the guilt is not quite as strong because you're like, I told myself I was going to do it, I allowed myself, so that's fine. However, if it's kind of causing you problems, number one, not reaching your goal by not losing weight, and also installing these behaviors I've mentioned throughout this video, then it's definitely not a good thing. So how do you eat to get results and enjoy life, enjoy food in moderation, and be happy with yourself? Not be fearful of losing control or have the devil on your shoulder kind of say, just have one more and end up losing control, and being able to just include those things you want every day of the week without that possibility of going off track and needing to have those cheat days and cheat meals to box in and create rules where you do counteract the restrictiveness that you have been introducing into your weekly eating. So the first thing is to take out the precision. So calorie counting, point counting, following rules is creating this perfectionism. Like I said before, with the plank, when you raise the stakes, the what ifs come and you start focusing on them rather than walking across and actually getting the results. So you need to follow a system that is more flexible and less precise. So the way I teach my clients, and you can see my guide in the description below, is using hand size portions. So a palm of protein, thumb of fats, fists of vegetables, cupped hands of carbohydrates, and being able to eat with portion sizes that are in some way controlled, but they're not overly precise. You can structure your meals in a certain way to lose weight and reduce your calories without having to count points, calories, and introduce excessive rules, while as well actually introducing the need to have something that you do enjoy on several days of the week, be it a piece of cake, chocolate, ice cream, including those things. And with my clients, I teach them as well to be able to deal with this devil on the shoulder of having one and being able to control the need to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. So that's super important. And then as well, like when things don't follow this structure, not having a cheat meal, but having something that maybe is a bit similar, but having some kind of structure to it. An open meal that is not labeled as cheat meal, but something that can maybe include a skewed amount of macronutrients. So maybe more carbs or more fat. So like, let's say pizza, for example, it's not going to fit into like a cupped hands of carbohydrate. So having an open meal where you can go off plan, like I say plan, structure and framework, because there's never any plan. And so being able to have something that maybe, once a week, depending on your goal. So like zoom out, ask yourself, am I getting results with what I'm following? If not, then maybe I need to rein things in a bit. But looking at the picture as a whole and asking yourself, once a week, I'll have something that is kind of open and have something that you enjoy, because you know that sort of 20 out of 21 meals of the week, you are following a framework and including nutrients to keep you full and nourished, and including some flexibility of things you enjoy throughout the week as well. So having that extra meal sometime during the week is not going to make any difference and actually help you adhere to the process. Because again, like a cheat meal, we're labeling it different and we're kind of having a different mindset around it. It includes something that is kind of out there and a bit different. Like these foods these days are very different to how they used to be in the past and include a lot more refined ingredients. And it's nice to have them. Like being able to enjoy food for emotional reasons is amazing. And you should be able to. Like restricting anything you want is always going to cause this binging behavior. And it's because of two things I've mentioned in videos before. So number one, your mind does not process negative instructions. So what I mean by that, if I say, don't think of a pink elephant, what do you think of? A pink elephant. So when you are saying, I'm not going to eat pizza, what are you thinking of? Pizza. Now, if you combine that with the next thing, mental rehearsal. Mental rehearsal is just imagining things that you're not actually doing to practice them. So sports players and actors will do this. So the sports player may imagine kicking the ball, and this builds the neural connections while they're not actually doing it. An actor may go over their lines. So this builds or helps them learn while they're not actually doing them. So when they come to do it, they are better. So you don't actually need to be doing something to get better at it. So combining these two things together, thinking about something you don't want. So I don't want pizza. You have to think about it, and you're mentally rehearsing that. So actually, like when it does come to the day, when you kind of relax a little bit, and willpower always does run out, you end up being really good at eating that and overeating on it. And because you know you're going to go back into the diet, your brain's like, let's just have our fill now, because we know we're going to go on the diet again. So just eat for now and all the other days that we are going to be restricting ourselves. So that's why it's really important to include things and not restrict things. So just to summarize this video, a cheat meal or a cheat day is not a good idea. I don't advocate it to any of my clients. So starting with like just what can happen if you kind of are very loose with your diet, you can often end up overeating and the calories negate any effect you'd have in the other days. And it can install binge eating behaviors. So with the plank analogy that I explained before, so rather than just focusing where you want to go and doing it, all the what ifs and raising the stakes creates this perfectionist all or nothing mindset, which ends up in internal pressure and you have to release it, and it often ends up in a binge. And also just the labeling of cheat, you're doing something wrong. No, you're never doing anything wrong. Like decide what you want to do and live in line with your values, eat what you enjoy, but like have some kind of value around it. Like, how do I want to eat? Like, how would I feel happy in eating? If I ate this and sort of thought back in time, would I have been happy about that decision? Like, is it a decision I made that is in line with those values I have towards my goals? Am I aware of my goals? Like, do I know what I want? Do I know where I'm actually focused? Or am I just thinking about like not liking myself anymore and just being desperate to get out of this situation? Being very clear on actually what you're aiming for and what you'll get more of when you do reach your goal is so important as well. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you have cheat meals? Do you have cheat days? Do you not agree with me? Let me know below. I'd love to know. And again, in the description, there's my link to my guide on how to eat in a structured way without aeroplane going past, in a structured way, without counting calories, without counting points, without having excessive rules, without feeling the need for losing control. So that is in the description below. But as always, like, share, and comment, and I will see you in the next video. By the way, I don't think you subscribed yet. Subscribe.